Volume 3, The Wind and Clouds of the Divine Continent. Chapter 1, Royal Casino. The lore of the great earth dragon vein was indeed, as Yo Zhengshan said, quickly spreading to the islands near the 9-5 Islands, and some of the Yuanying realm's powerhouses couldn't sit still any longer, and they all came out of their customs and headed to the 9-5 Islands. When they came, a group of Yuanying realm were all raging, thinking in their hearts that Gu Hai was at most only in the Jindan realm, relying on just the blood knife to cheat. As long as they found the right opportunity, they could capture Gu Hai alive in one fell swoop. However, when each and every strong person arrived outside the Great Han Dynasty's palace, almost everyone instantly let go of that momentum. Countless cultivators surrounded a high mountain outside the palace. Around the high mountain, there were a large number of mortal generals stationed, and these generals naturally did not look in the eyes of the crowd of cultivators. However, the scene on top of the mountain wall caused the hearts of countless cultivators to race. But see a piece of mountain wall above. At the moment is being nailed 60 extremely miserable people. Some people have died, baked by the sun. Some people are not dead. Only the danchan is wasted. The whole body is wasted nailed on the mountain wall. That's the 8-6 Islands, Taiyuan Sect Master, a Yuanying realm powerhouse. That's the 8-9 Islands Yuanying realm. Several of them, all of them. Are these all Yuanying realms? The cultivators who were here to watch the mountain wall. There were Yuanying realm, Jindan realm, and innate realm. All of them looked at the mountain wall and sucked in cold air amongst themselves. Master, why are you here? A Jindan realm cultivator looked at the white-robed man who suddenly came beside him in surprise. The white-clothed man's eyelids fluttered wildly for a while and said, "Your senior brother went back to report to me. Gu Hai got an earth dragon vein. Earth dragon vein. It's of great use to our clan. Your other 3 senior uncles will be here in a matter of days. What's happening here? Master, these days so many people want to get the earth dragon vein. There are those who forcefully broke into the Great Han Palace. There are those who quietly sneaked into the Great Han Palace. All of them ended up in this. All 60 Yuanying realm. Over there. They captured another 5. Look, Master, look over there. They are also wasted. Only the Yuanying realm is qualified to be nailed to this wall." That Jindan realm cultivator pointed not far away and said, "Only the Yuanying realm is qualified." The white-clothed man's face turned his head for a moment as he looked over. Sure enough, a group of Great Han Dynasty guards brought the already wasted Yuanying realm to the mountain wall and proceeded to nail them to the mountain wall with long nails. "Senior, you and the 3 senior uncles, are you still prepared to go?" The Jindan realm cultivator twisted his head to look at the man in white. The white-clothed man's face stiffened, wanting to slap this eyeless disciple to death. Overseas of the 1,000 Islands, above a sea. Boom. Once again, a monstrous tsunami rolled up. Li Shenji stood on top of the flying boat, a purple gold longbow in his hand. Boom. The bowstring returned to its position, and 20 long rainbow-like arrows rained down, as if they were meteors falling towards the giant turtle above the sea. Roar! The giant turtle let out a roar, and with a show of its shell, a shield in the shape of a turtle shell blasted in front of the rain of arrows. Boom, 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 boom. The rain of arrows crashed on top of the shield and burst apart. Li Shenji's eyes narrowed. "Mukan, you really are a ghost. You can sense the Zhuanwu golden armor. You actually chased it here. The Zhuanwu golden armor is my clan's holy relic. You defile the Zhuanwu golden armor. The sky is the limit. You will not rest in death. Humph. I will immediately spread the news to the 4 corners of the world. As long as those who respect the Supreme Being like I do, they will all treat you like an enemy. Li Shenji, you and my Zhuanwu clan, you will not rest in death." Mao Chen roared. "Old lunatic, the Zhuanwu Supreme has been dead for 800 years. What the hell are you still loyal to?" Li Shenji said in a cold voice. Roar. Mukan let out a roar and lunged towards Li Shenji. The lunge was accompanied by monstrous sea water, as if it was filling up this heaven and earth. HMPH, go. Don't tangle with this old lunatic, Li Shenji said in a cold voice. As he spoke, he once again pulled up his longbow. 20 meteor shower-like arrows rushed towards the giant turtle, but the subordinate quickly maneuvered the flying boat to fly away. Boom! 20 arrow rains collided with the giant tortoise once again, blowing up a sky full of water. Roar! Stand still! Li Shenji! Return my Zhuanwu golden armor! Mao Cheng glared amidst the roar. Shoo! The speed of the flying boat was too fast, and in the twinkling of an eye it was already gone. Boom! Countless large water suddenly fell. Mu Chen once again transformed into the appearance of a strong man, coldly looking at the flying boat already to the sky. Humph, you cannot escape. Mu Chen was about to chase after it, but he abruptly raised his eyebrows and stopped. Thousand Island Sea. This is the Thousand Island Sea. Mu Chen's face was in a state of dismay, somewhat hesitant as to whether or not he should go in. After being silent for a while, Mao Chen took a deep breath and stepped towards the Thousand Island Sea range straight ahead. Great Han Dynasty. Outside the palace on the mountain wall. At this moment, there were already 80 Yuanying realms nailed down, and at this moment, it finally dampened the enthusiasm of a group of cultivators for the Earth Dragon Vein. Every time the enthusiasm flared up, one look at what happened to the 80 Yuanying realms and everyone's enthusiasm was extinguished. There were more and more cultivators in the surroundings, and more cultivators came from all directions of the Thousand Island Sea. The Punching Heaven Palace. In the middle of the court meeting, Gu Hai sat on top of the dragon chair, listening to the daily matters. Your Majesty, although the thieves who broke into the palace were all captured by the Crown Prince, but there are more and more cultivators gathering in the outside world, and with more cultivators, it's easy to form chaos. Yes, Your Majesty, there have been more than a dozen brawls that have occurred. There are too many people, a conservative estimate. Outside of my Great Han Palace, there are already nearly 200,000 cultivators from the 4 directions of the Thousand Island Sea. Your Majesty, these cultivators have been gathering for a long time, but there is a great element of unease. A group of officials cried out in distress. Gu Qin, Gu Hai called out. My son is here. Gu Qin stepped out. How are the preparations you were told to make? Gu Hai asked. Reporting to father. During this period of time, according to father's request, the construction has been stepped up. It's already being built outside the palace. A place has been set aside for cultivators from the 4 directions to reside in. Of course, high-class residences. The charges are also huge. Moreover, with the royal casino designed by father, they should be attracted, Gu Qin said. Great Han needs to develop, recruiting countless cultivators into my Great Han. In addition to the masses of innate realm cultivators, all the ministers and officials need spirit stones to cultivate. The spirit stone mines in the 9-5 Islands are quite a lot, but they can't just sit around and eat nothing. Royal Casino, for the franchise project, 9-5 Islands, there shall be no followers, violators beheaded. Immediately open for business, Gu Hai said in a deep voice. I obey the decree, Gu Qin answered. With an order, a large area outside the palace officially began to open to the public. The cultivators outside the palace were still focusing on the increasing number of pinned Yuanying. Realm on the mountain wall. A loud cry rang out abruptly. The Emperor has decreed that all the Thousand Island Sea cultivators who have come from afar have missed the welcome. But the reception of the Great Han Palace is limited, and all the cultivators gathered among the folk and the mountains. And the quality of life is simple, and should not be the status of all of you. So we open up a new place for the Royal Casino Resort, for all the cultivators to reside and enjoy. And there is another entertainment for all of you to pass the time. The Great Han guard struck the gong and kept repeating this passage over and over again, listening to the crowd of cultivators in the 4 directions, who were stunned. "What do you mean? Casino Royal Resort?" the crowd of cultivators said blankly. Following the Great Han Dynasty general's pointing, many cultivators traveled to investigate. Sure enough, not far from the palace, a house, built extremely beautiful and gorgeous, with a large number of attendants neatly lined up, waiting on the side ready to serve in general. When a cultivator came close, "Welcome Supreme Immortal," the crowd of attendants gave a respectful salute. The neat slogans, the neat salutes, and the enthusiastic attitude of service made the eyes of the crowd of cultivators go straight. Guhai, Guhai, what is he doing? What's going on here? The crowd of cultivators were bewildered as they were introduced to the Royal Casino Resort's by a group of attendants. The fresh air, beautiful buildings, and beautiful environment could not impress the crowd of cultivators, but it was much better than living in a cave or an inn earlier. It was just that it took money and spirit stones. However, to be able to have this kind of comfortable environment, a little spirit stone was nothing. After all, it wasn't expensive. After determining where to stay, the crowd of cultivators looked around and saw something extremely new. Above a square, Royal Lottery began to sell lottery tickets, or, as long as a middle-grade spirit stone, you can buy a sheet. There is a chance to win 100 upper-grade spirit stones, or put a share of money. Get 10,000 times the return. Walk by. Do not miss all. 3 days later, at noon, in the square, in front of everyone's face, shaking the prize. Absolutely just and fair. The Royal Racecourse will soon be opened. Betting on the horse-ready spirit stone. The bigger the bet, the more money. All horse racing in front of everyone. Absolutely fair and just. All the Royal Casino opened card gambling, a small card, to help you achieve the dream of the god of gamblers. A crowd of Casino Royale staff yelled, looking around the cultivators a moment of bewilderment. In the past, the Great Abundance Gang's Colosseum had accumulated a large amount of wealth for the Great Abundance Gang. Guhai naturally wouldn't let go of the gaming industry. After all, there were more and more people to feed. Sitting on the sidelines wouldn't do. The only gambling item of the Dafeng Gang that was the most profitable was the Colosseum. But the gambling items that Guhai knew how to do were not comparable to the Great Abundance Gang. Gukin had already set up a big formation around the area, and any looters would immediately end up in the same place as the Yuanying realm on the mountain wall. For the items mentioned by Guhai, Gukin was actually able to find ways to prevent cheating from Old Man Chess Viewer's inheritance. If Old Man Chess Viewer knew that his countless legacies were actually being used, on top of gambling, he didn't know he would be pissed off and come to life. Lottery, horse betting, cards, a gambling that was different from the Colosseum, immediately attracted the curiosity of countless cultivators. On the first day of opening, rolling spirit stones were already flowing to the Great Han Palace. With the incoming money, Guhai was no longer worried about the Great Han Dynasty sitting on its laurels. At the same time, the law and order was instantly countless better. Everything was still developing as Guhai expected. On the mountain wall, there were still Yuanying realms being nailed to the top from time to time, while the Royal Casino was bustling with people. Cultivators also needed to relax. Cultivators also needed a spiritual life. Any cultivator who had entered the Casino Royal Resort and visited it, no one would want to go back and live in the previous cave. Isn't it just spirit stones? Olmi has plenty of spirit stones. Some people were red-eyed from losing and wanted to make a mess, and there was a big formation that captured them and threw them out. Half a month later, Li Shenji arrived at 9-5 Island. Instead of rushing towards the Great Han Palace in an aggressive manner, he pretended to be an ordinary cultivator to step into the ancient Haitian realm. Li Shenji brought 20 people with him and landed in a rather remote place. Just as he walked up the avenue, he was immediately greeted by someone. "Hey, Li Shenji raised an eyebrow. He had just arrived and was discovered. Immortals, I am the marketing salesman of the Royal Casino Resort in Dahan. If you don't give up, how about I act as a tour guide for you Immortals? I will definitely let you Immortals feel at home, the man politely greeted with a smile. Marketing salesman, tour guide. Li Shenji looked blankly at the extremely polite man in front of him.